let's pick up with you in Memphis anyway.
Okay, so I went to Memphis. Capwell got me transferred from the school to Memphis. I stayed there for 3 years on duty, where I met my first wife, the mother of my children. And after we left there, we moved back to the D.C. area. I went through the advanced course.
Oh, so this part was left out there about marrying and okay, glad we got that hooked in there. All right.
So
you got through the course and
made it through the course.
Yeah.
Graduated from the course. A bunch of great guys in the class.
That was a good class.
Good class. And then I got lashed up with my own unit band. We rehearsed at the school for about a month. And then we went to ComNav Airlant, which is the commander of Naval Air Force's Atlantic Fleet. And we took several trips out to sea and back, alternating with another band that was there at the same time.
Can you hook a year to that now?
Pardon me?
Can you hook a year to that?
59 and 60.
Okay.
No, 60, 61.
Okay, so Don is over in the band by now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Now we can roll on because it kind of.
I went in the band in '57.
57.
August
Right.
1957.
Yeah.
And as I said, I got in quite by happen chance, but I got in.
Yeah.
I mean, that just was mind-boggling. And there I was in a band that I had never dreamed of. And the interesting thing about it is that when we got back from this trip that I had told you about, that's when this Navy band thing, it's about the time this thing broke, that they needed somebody desperately.
Yeah.
So they were all sitting there, the powers to be in the band, among whom were John Norris and Rick Larson, who had just come off this gig. And they were saying, does anybody know of a trombone player anywhere, that we can get? And Rick and John, well, there's this guy that we just was on his band on the road. I guess they gave me some sort of a good mark. So they said, well, let's get him over here, audition, see what happens. And that's how that all came about.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted me now. So in those days, as I recall, anything you wanted to do, you had to put in a chit.
That's the big word, man. The chit.
Yes. And the chit had to be approved. Then they run it through this and that. And they said, well, we're going to have to run a chit. And they said, well, gee, we want this guy like next week. Well, So they got looking through my records at the school. And this is the unbelievable. To me, it's unbelievable. In my records at the school, they found a chit. from when I was there in the basic course. And then I recalled that on one of our nights that we gone out to the spot for 10-cent hamburgers and 5-cent drafts or whatever it was, somebody dared me to put in a chit for the United States Navy Band. And I was just pretty much at the state that I did. I did. Disapprove. And that was the end of it. But they had to keep that chit in your record. They couldn't just throw it away. So it was there. They dragged this thing out and said, well, we'll just approve. And that was it. And I was in the band on Tuesday. This was on Friday, and I was in the band on Tuesday. And that's how it happened. And for the first time in my naval career, I was playing second trombone. Because I was as far down in the section as you can go without playing bass. But that's where they put me. That's okay. But you can't sit in a group like that and pay attention and not get better if you got anything going for you.
Oh, that's right.
And I had little going for me. So I just sat there and kept my mouth shut. Did make an entrance for a year. That's true. I never made an entrance because I couldn't tell when the band was going to come in. So I just got to sit there and that was pretty much the start of my career. And then from there on, things got better and better for me in the band. But I didn't move up very much. And then when Homer Phillips retired, I moved up one. And then Roger Wilco came in, and then I moved up one. And then Larry Weehee was there. So it was Weehee, Wilco, and myself. And then the accident happened in 1960. And Roger Woko was unarguably the best young trombone player I have ever heard. He could almost outplay Weegie. He was only 19 years old. It was incredible. So obviously he would have been the heir apparent. No doubt. And we all liked it. Well, he and I were the only two that played in the combo and the orchestra, and that's the group they took on the plane, and he was there and I wasn't. So he was gone, and then I just stepped up next to Larry, which was quite a thing for somebody like me, who had never been anywhere, done anything. And then Larry would never make chief. But I wouldn't say he couldn't, he would not, because he wouldn't study. He thought they should give him chief. And we thought so too. But that wasn't the way it worked.
No.
So he just stayed first class. And everybody else was making chief. And he hooked up with Uncle Gabriel on a music camp somewhere. They used to go out in the summertime in Brentler. And Gabriel said, hey, he says, can you get out of the band? Larry says, well, my enlistment's up, whatever. He says, you can move the Air Force band, I guarantee you'll be E9 in 18 months.
He was.
So he did. And he was E9 in 12 months. And when he left, I stepped up to first chair. I mean, me. I mean, that's mind, but even now it's mind-boggling. But I was what they had, and I became soloist, I became principal player.
They found a place to fit you.
Yeah, I guess. It's a Peter principle. That's, it's not going to get any better.
Now, when did Larry go over to the Air Force?
1963.
Okay, let's catch him up from 60 to 63, because we had you in 1960 someplace.
1960, where we were.
Yeah, you had taken this band someplace.
You said 61, you take the band out of the school. From the
Oh,
advanced-
Airline band, right.
Okay. Yep. After the Airland band,
Kind of hard to remember sometimes.
right.
You
That's my
didn't-
advantage. I stay in one place.
After Airland, you were on a carrier or two.
This is true. Yeah, we're on the Roosevelt. We're on a couple of them. And
By that
then
time,
when I left Airland, I went back to the School of Music in Anacostia. I went on the staff as an instructor.
okay, so all the bands by that time were all flag bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No more ship's band.
No.
No more ship bands.
Phase that
Right.
out.
They're all flag bands. And when I went back to staff at the School of Music as an instructor, I took over as instructor of the refresher course. And that was, oh gosh, I guess I was there for about a year and a half, teaching refresher training. Funny, 3 of the students that I had were Indonesian students. They were sent over to the school to get advanced course training in the record. So I went to the CO and told them what the status was when they left the school to go back to Indonesia. Their government is going to expect them to have that education. So I convinced the CO to go ahead and for me to go ahead with them on some advanced book training.
This is still in Anacostia?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about the ONC, because they weren't commanding officers yet.
No.
Okay.
And the book training, the book knowledge and so forth. I also set them up with a conducting course, how to practice proper conducting, what proper attitude was on the podium and so forth. And they had conducting auditions before they passed their grade. But when they went back, they had entered in their records completion of that course.
That's very interesting. I never knew about these Indonesian students,
Yeah.
because when I was in the advanced course, Dietzler and Strange, we were all in this class together, and we had two Koreans. We had a Lieutenant Yi and a first class by the name of Ho. Yeah, Yi and Ho, and they they were in our class. So there was some stuff going on there, and I certainly didn't know about that. So we're up to about, what, 64, somewhere around in there, 64, 65.
Then you left the advanced course.
No, you came over and you were working with me before I left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Before you left, and then after you left, they called Ned Muffley back, and he went on the staff as a rehearsal conductor. Well, his rehearsal techniques, I guess, were something that they were really looking for. So after he made chief, why, he became the conducting instructor at the advanced course at the Navy School of Music.
So we actually haven't gone that many years because I left there in like 62.
Okay.
When I went to the exam center. So we'll go ahead from there. So now you're over in the advanced course and you're picking up.
Teaching the advanced course.
Okay.
And Muffley was the rehearsal conductor, instructor, and that was before he went to the Navy band. And when he went to the Navy band fell apart. No, we won't say that.
No, you had Ralph too.
To the band's credit, the Navy band didn't fall.
That's true. That's very good.
No, you had Ralph too.
Huh?
You had Ralph.
Ralph Arillo.
You had Ralph
Ralph
also.
Arillo.
Because
he taught dance band arranging.
Right.
And then when I made E8, they made me advanced course supervisor.
Right. Right.
And that was a title that I held for a while until we moved from Anacostia. The school moved down here to Little Creek, Virginia.
That's 64.
Naval Amphibious Base.
That's 64.
Yep.
Okay.
64. Then I stayed on the staff here for about 2 years, 2 more years, and then I wanted to get back into the mix of things, okay? So I found out there was an opening. The guy who was at Fibland, just up at the north end of the base from where the school was getting ready to leave. So I went to the CO here at the school.
Yeah, COs then.
Officer in charge.
No, the COs when they came down here became the command. Right.
Whatever.
You
Anyway,
say tomato, I say tomato.
told him who was Tom Hancock, and told him I would like to take over the Fibland band. So I don't know, the guy who I relieved, I don't know what kind of a job he did, but they at the command center kind of welcomed me with open arms.
You know who it was?
Well, was it? I relieved.
Well, think about it and you talk
Joe,
to.
who was it?
What did he play?
We talked about him before.
We did?
Yeah, earlier.
Oh, okay.
In his day. Anyway.
All right. Well, anyway.
Regardless. The first thing I did when I went over to Fibland with the band was stationed in an old theater. So all you had to do was go like that real hard, and the doors would fall open. You know.
Okay.
And you've got how many dollars worth of inventory?
Yeah.
No. So the first thing I did was look around for a viable band room area.
So you guys weren't aboard ship?
Huh?
You weren't aboard ship?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I went to the command center to our boss was a 3-star or vice admiral.
Uh-huh.
So I went to the flag lieutenant and the flag secretary and told him the situation. They said, well, look around, see what you can find. I said, I've already found something. So they went with me and checked the area out that I was looking at. I said, I think probably we can get this thing refurbished at quite a reasonable cost to the command by just going through the base. And so he said, check that out and see. So come to find out, the father of my son-in-law was in charge of the area over there.
Small world.
So he came over and checked it out and sent some people out to see what needed to be done. I told him what I wanted. We had a rehearsal space built into the area. We had a locker room with a locker for everybody, with an individual locker. We had an office. So that's 50 times better than what they were in over that old theater.
Yeah.
So that's where I was for 2.5 years, and then I got transferred from there down to Naval Training Center, Orlando, Florida. And I fell in love with the area down there. Central Florida was gorgeous. So I said, I've got 22 years in, I'm going to retire.
Oh, you like me, decided you weren't going to make it a career anymore.
That's right.
After 22, I says, I don't think I need any more. Right?
That's right.
Okay.
Dexter Reynolds had made lieutenant, and he was the officer in charge of the band, and I was assistant. And I must have done something right down there, because the commanding officer of the Naval Training Center bought me a mace, which is for drum majoring, with a pair of gauntlets. And we used those on all of the Friday morning graduation reviews. And I guess it must have gone over quite well, because when I retired, they held a review for me out on the parade ground. So
Wow. You learned your Bill Burnett lessons well. You didn't realize that, see?
Well, I guess not.
Well, bring us on up there in the band there. So he's up and retiring after 22. You went out after 22 too, didn't you? Yeah.
1971, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
You were
71.
not too many months behind me then, whenever it was.
July the 2nd,
Okay.
1971.
See, I left March 25th.
Mine was August.
Okay. So that puts us all in the same kind of
Yeah,
wagon.
well, yeah, we're all contemporaries.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that makes it good. I just needed to get you two guys together because you two guys went out in the same band, spent the same amount of time, and yet the paths were very different. And because I'm not on this one, and my path was different than you guys, yet we all end up here, and it's all a good thing.
For sure.
Thanks to Don, he had this tape downstairs.
It was funny.
Gotta be prepared.
It's funny, when I retired, and I went back to my hometown, Elmira, New York. My mother was still alive then, and she was old-fashioned Scottish. And she said to me, "Why did you retire? You're not going to find a job as good as that one."
Well, she's right.
This is true.
She must have been very, very smart.
Now, when we left the band, they weren't doing the ceremony like they do over there now. I don't think.
Oh, no, my goodness.
Wasn't that awful? See?
Oh, yeah.
And see, I didn't come to my retirement. So Beck called me up and he says, we get ready for your retirement. I said, well, have fun. I won't be there. He says, why not? I says, why should I? I said, I conduct bands, been conducting bands. I should come over there to wave my hands for the Navy band to play a march, and then you give me a piece of paper? I said, I don't need this. And we went through quite a little conflab about that. And you had pretty much the same thing. But you had some other experiences there in the band.
What?
You had some other experiences there in the band, because you were leading chief in the band there for a while, weren't you?
Well, I tell you, I think I'm most proud. I'm extremely proud of my Navy career.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I probably came further with less than almost anybody I know. Because I ended up in a catbird seat. I mean, I really did. Mm-hmm. And the opportunities were there, and I was able to take advantage. That's exactly what it is. And I held more jobs in the Navy band, as far as I know, than anybody who's ever been there, I think. I was principal trombone, solo trombone. I was leading chief. I was audition supervisor. I was senior enlisted conductor. There's a couple other things. But now they have all kinds of people. In my day, not many people did everything.
Did everything, right.
And I had never studied conducting, but somehow I was pretty good at it, I guess. And Commander Stauffer decided that we should have a designated enlisted conductor, because no longer were they taking an assistant on tour, which meant if something happened to the conductor on tour, there wouldn't be anybody, because he used to take an assistant leader. So he decided that we should have a designated enlisted conductor. And so he took it on himself to set this thing up to find one. So he said, okay, anybody who would like to get into this thing, let me know. And so I said, well, you know, may as well. What have we got to lose? So I signed up, and he auditioned, but maybe there was a dozen of us, I would think. And he picked me for some reason. So I became the assistant solo conductor on tour. I did a lot of gigs with it, did a lot of small gigs with the Navy band, took bands out. And that's got to be the supreme thrill. I mean, to stand in front of that band?
Yeah.
You kidding?
Oh, yeah.
My goodness gracious. And then I did all the auditioning for almost 3 years. I was a supervisor. I hired all the people. And for somebody who came into band right out of high school, I mean the Navy, that's to me was incredible. And so I owe everything, and I've done pretty well. I owe everything I have and everything I've done to the Navy music program. And I think I'm probably as good an example of anybody of the opportunities that are available here.
That's why these film will go on into perpetuity.
See, so if I can do
people
it,
down the way.
if I can do it, anybody can do it. If you get the breaks, if you play the games. I retired Master Chief. We talk about retirement. Well, I was only the third or fourth person in the band to make E9. And so it was a big deal. So when I retired, they were going to have a ceremony, of course, not the thing they have now. But they're going to have a ceremony in the sail loft, and I was pretty well respected, I guess, in the band. Not universally liked, but so they're going to have this thing.
Because you're doing your job.
I guess. So, and I knew they were going to have it, so I said, well, yeah, I'll be there, because it was important to my wife. You know, but I didn't have any uniforms, because I'd sold all my uniforms to a clarinet player. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I sold them. I retired on Thursday, and my ceremony was on Thursday. So I didn't have any more use for a uniform except the dress uniform, because I was going to guest conduct a number, oh wait a minute, Wednesday. I was going to guest conduct a number at the Watergate on Thursday. A big number, big deal, very big deal. So I sold all my uniforms because I didn't need them. And then here they have this ceremony, and what I didn't know is they were going to give me a medal. I didn't know that. So here I am, this ceremony, they're pinning a medal on my sports shirt. It was awful, it was terrible. My wife was embarrassed and I was embarrassed. But that's the way it was.
But it's pleasant to go over now to a retirement.
Oh, yes. So anyway, I was supposed to conduct this number on a Thursday afternoon, and it was rained out. So he said, well, we're going to do it tomorrow, which was Friday. So I can't do it, I got a gig. I mean, who does that? That's dumb. But I had a gig. So I never did get to conduct my last number with the Navy band, except the last couple things. I've conducted a number at the reunion, and I'm so thrilled because the number I've conducted is the march that Commander Stauffer wrote for the Navy alumni. And he was unable to, when he wrote it, he was unable to come up that year, so he specifically asked that I conduct it. And boy, that was a real thrill. That was a real thrill.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So last year we did it again, and I conducted it again. And so I just, you know, when I think about myself, it's almost an out-of-body thing. I listen to some of the things I did when I was in the band, and I thought, wait a minute, is that me? What kind of an opportunity? But, and you've had such a successful career. We both were out of high school, for heaven's sake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
hi, teach conducting? Come on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
but you did it, and you did it successfully. And I remember when I went to Catholic University after I retired, I went to get a degree because I'd never been to college. And I sat down at the desk with the registrar, and he had this course sheet. And he said, he started to check things off. He said, oh, you don't need this, you've done this. Oh, you certainly had this, you know, Navy school. I ended up with 60 hours.
They're good out there. Yeah.
60 hours.
At the university.
It's
Oh, yeah.
incredible. Because of what I'd done in the Navy.
Yeah.
And
And
I know a
Dr.
lot
Don
of
had been,
people have had,
he was on the faculty out there too, you know.
yeah.
Stauffer was out
There
there.
was a guy who was a trombone player in the Navy band back in the 60s. I forget what the heck his name was. But when he got he was only a one-termer. When he got out of the Navy band, he went over and played principal trombone for the DC Symphony.
Well, that's John Marcellus.
Yeah, John Marcellus. He's got the trombone choir thing
He's at Eastman.
at Eastman.
He's got the
Yeah.
teaching. You know, he and I are very good. He was my assistant in the band.
Is that right?
We still laugh about it. I saw him a couple months ago. We still talk.
Well, yeah, I saw him a couple of months ago. 'Cause
I
he was
exchanged
up in
emails with him
Williamsport.
too.
Yeah, they had we
The
saw him when he
trombone
were in
choir
Gettysburg.
thing.
And we had dinner, we had lunch or dinner. Oh yeah, we laughed about the fact that he sat next to me in the band. Probably maybe aside from Wheatie, maybe even better than Wheatie. But he was the best trombone player I've ever heard.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he's incredible.
that's awesome.
So here he's playing assistant to me. And he wouldn't play like we did at all. Because he was an orchestral, he wanted to be an orchestral player.
Mm-hmm.
So he would,
And he was.
he played louder than we did, he played better than, he did everything. And I couldn't get him to fit. Just couldn't get him to fit. And look, he ended up in the Baltimore Symphony.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the job opened up in Washington, he got that job and he stayed there I think for 13 or 14 years. And then when Remington retired from Eastman,
Mm-hmm.
John went to Eastman.
Yep.
So he is now arguably the premier trombone teacher in the world.
Yep.
Still playing, and
Oh my
I
God!
love
is he
him.
ever?
He and I are just
He hasn't lost a thing.
No, he hasn't lost. No, he hasn't.
Let's talk about
Except the razor.
well, he's a college professor, right? So, when you went to the band, Merrill had already left the band then.
Merrill.
Earlier.
Oh no, he's still there.
Okay.
Oh yeah. He and I played in the band together for probably 4 years.
Yeah, because Merrill had been in the National Symphony before he came back in the Navy.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
no, not the National.
Not in that.
No, he was in the Minneapolis Orchestra.
Well, according to him, he was down in the National Symphony
No, he
before
played
he
the
came
gallery
back in. Okay. Well, anyway, he had gone to Guam and band.
Yeah, during the
50 or
Second
something.
World War.
Yeah, with the chief from around the front office that I've been trying to think of his name all day long. It's French on paper. Oh, Paquette.
Oh, Paquette.
Roy
The
Paquette.
mustache.
It finally hit me. I've been trying to get that all day long.
Very dapper.
Roy Paquette, yeah.
Paquette.
He retired from the exam center, and I think he was before Frank Lord. I had this discussion earlier with somebody, and I've got a lot of materials from him via his wife. Sent it down to the archives. So Sam Kirshner and I was talking earlier about the first warrants. There was Norse, and then there was up in the front office that went to the academy, and and in the fleet there was Dutch and Gustafsson and Sam Kirshner was number 3, and they were the only ones that we had. They were the 3 that wore the cross quills, and we didn't have any more until they made that slew at the time that they put the bug on. Was it 56? If I'm not mistaken, it was 56. That's when it was.
So they tried to keep me from going to the Navy band. They wanted me to stay because he said, whoever was in charge, it might have been McDonald, I'm not sure. He says, I guarantee you'll be warrant in 18 months. Guarantees I don't know about, but I said, I know if I go over across the river, that's a guarantee. I'm going to be there. So I said, he said, well, I can stop your orders. I said, well, if you do, I'm going to get out. So I went to the Navy band.
Mm-hmm.
Never regretted it.
Mm-hmm.
Not one iota.
Yeah. Yeah, we had good careers, no question about it.
I was also lead trombone at Commodores.
Yeah, for a good short period of time.
And leader of one of the
The
one of the
combos.
combos.
Yeah.
No, we consider the Commodores to go all the way back to the beginning.
Well, that's only in the Navy band. the Bureau didn't look at it that
No,
way.
no. But they now consider anybody who played in the dance band as an ex-Commodore.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
Because I never played in the Commodores.
Mhm.
I mean, as you know, but I'm listed as a lead player in the Commodore.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'll use it.
The guy who played lead trombone with the Commodores. Now I'm talking about.
Randy Purcell.
No, it was back.
Not Randy?
before that, George Palmer.
Who?
George Palmer
Palmer?
played.
No, not George.
Well, before that, that's where that's
No,
the
no,
lineage.
this might have been after George. Anyway, maybe he didn't play lead. Anyway, when he got out of the Commodores and got out of the Navy, he went to Penn State.
Oh,
That's
okay.
where I met him. That's where I met him,
I know
Penn
him.
State.
Okay.
Can't
Don't,
remember his name.
Well,
don't know the name right now. But
Because the
when I
guy,
went-
the
when
guy
I-
that hired him at Penn State was an ex-Navy band part, the saxophone part.
yeah,
That's who hired him.
Yoder.
Dan
Dan
Yoder.
Yoder. Yep. Dan and I are old buddies.
Dan Yoder threw a baseball harder than anybody I've ever seen in person.
Is that right? Yeah.
we always thought he was going to go to the major leagues.
Well, I made, when I was working in a music store, doing this work, we started circulating around the area a brand called Yanagisawa saxophones. Japanese made. They're probably second only in the music industry to Selmer Paris. These things play so well in tune for about $1,000 less a horn.
Well, they probably copied him. So
But Dan Yoder is a Yanagisawa. I'm a Yanagisawa player. Dan Yoder, I got Dan Yoder into doing it. And I set him up as a clinician for Yanagisawa.
that's when you're trying to get me to move up there to Williamsport. And Z wished that I had done that. Because he was saying, "Hey man, this store up here is cool." And I no, I think I'll stay independent down here where I am, and that's been it. Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff I just want to talk about, and maybe Mike's gonna cut some of this out, but we got plenty of tape here
I hope
now.
he cut some of it out.
No, you can phase out anytime that you want to, but this has been absolutely delightful
Well, it has been for me.
for me.
Me too.
You know,
Yeah.
it's amazing what you can think about when you
Oh, my, yeah.
sit down and start.
Recalling the good old times.
Oh yeah, it doesn't mean that you want to live there again,
No.
you know, but it's
Fond memories.
it gives you a perspective for the future in,
You know,
in
let me
so
tell
many
you something
different
about
ways.
that. And I tell people this with the alumni thing, because we get people who simply will not come to an alumni, Navy band alumni thing. They just don't, they won't have anything to do with it. In fact, I had somebody come up to me today, and said, you know, I've never come to a Navy band alumni thing. And he says, I'd like you to know why. So he says, I want to get together with you and tell you. I said, okay. And this didn't surprise me because this has happened with several people who won't come because of something. And I tell them, look, there aren't many people that had as much trouble as I did. I got almost kicked out of every band I was ever in the Navy, including the Princeton band. He wanted to get rid of me. The guy in San Diego wanted to get rid of me, I guess because I do things, say things that people don't like. And the Navy band, Mitchell tried to
And
get
why do
rid
you
of me.
do that?
I guess it's just kind of a self-flagellation thing. Mitchell tried to kick me out of the Navy band. And he really did. And
It's a Harrisburg thing.
Huh?
It's a Harrisburg thing.
Yeah, he called me in. He says, Stratton, he says, how much time you got to do? And I was playing solo trombone at the time. I mean, he was the leader. I said, well, I can retire in like 16 months if I want to. He says, well, he says, I don't want you playing in the band anymore. I said, what? He said, I don't want you playing in the band anymore. He says, well, you can stay in the band. He says, we'll give you a job in the office, or anything you want to do. He says, we'll take care of you. But he says, I don't want you. And this was out of a clear blue sky.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so I said, well, I told him that you're the leader, you can do whatever you want. But he said, well, my mind's made up. I said, okay. But I said, and he said, well, we'll tell the band that you decided you don't want to play. I said, no, we won't do that. I said, if you want to get rid of me, I'll go. But I said, I won't go in the office. I said, I'll leave the band. I'll just go someplace else for But I said, you'll have to tell me in front of the band. Because I was, there's somebody in the band. So I said, all you have to do is tell me. I'll get up and leave and you won't see me again. And I left. And I went home and told my wife, I said, I know what's going to happen. I said, you better start packing, because I think we're leaving. And I told her the story. So the next day, I always sat on the end, up on the stage. And I always came on the stage, there was a back door from a little room off the stage in which I had my locker. So I always came on the stage from there and sat down in my chair. So I did that. And I waited until the whole band was there. I waited until he was there, the whole band, and I came in a little bit late. I came in, I sat down, and I was sweating. I knew what to do. He never even looked over at me.
Is that right?
And he never said a word ever again. I came that close.
Well, I worked very hard to get him on here with the three captains when I did the three captains, because it would have given perspective of the school, everything from the beginning. And I didn't realize, I knew Tony pretty well, but I didn't realize how tight his family was. And this happened to have been on a Wednesday. And when I called him, he says, well, he says, they'll make out all right. We didn't need him, that wasn't the point. I wanted him there for perspective, but on Wednesday, nobody gets in the way of he and his brothers going to brunch.
I don't think he did that anyway. I don't think he did that anyway.
Well, he may have. He'd been over my house twice to see these. I wanted him and Dutch together. That's the two that I really wanted together, because they had played clarinet duets over there together at the old school before it moved to where the old club was. And when they used to turn to fire the furnace every hour, and they played clarinet duets at night. And it almost brought tears to my eyes every year when we played the Fleet Reserve thing. And there these two guys, after all these years, are sitting there playing clarinet together, and I always thought that was so neat. But Dutch told me somewhere along the line after he'd been over my house twice, and he says,
Are you still in Fleet Reserve?
That's another story we'll talk about a little bit later.
Okay. I still am.
Well, anyway, he never came, but at his wake, Gordon, his younger brother, told me a very interesting story, and because this goes back to when he had the band, and Gordon was in Sea Chanters, and
I remember it well.
well,
That caused more problems for me.
and he got called around to the boss's office one day, and Gordon says, "Well, I guess he's kind of a cut up. I never knew him that well, you know." And he says, what have I done now? You know, so he goes around to the boss's office, and he goes in, and Chief, I don't know who took him in, might have been you, I don't know. And he took him in, and he dismissed the chief, and he's standing there in front of his brother, and he says, "You're out of uniform." I said, what's wrong? He said, "Wear your golf shoes." So he gets it, this is his brother, and they play golf all the time. He says, "Where are your golf shoes?" He gets his golf shoes and they go golfing. I always thought that was just kind of a neat story and an odd way to put it. And Tony had his own perspective of the way that he did things, you know.
We're talking about Don Stauffer.
Yeah, I need to get down there
He has
to
got-
talk to him.
He has got some of the greatest German marches published.
He's got a lot of stuff that we need on here.
We just performed one of his at our recent spring concert with the Repast band up in Williamsport.
Yeah.
Hock Braunschweig.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Is that awesome?
One of the unfortunate things that didn't happen in this program is that he never came here as commanding officer, because he's really an educator.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
yeah.
he deserved to have been at this school, in my opinion at least, and he never got here. But I need to get down there and sit down with him just like this,
You
because
better hurry.
yeah, I think
Now,
so.
I've never heard him perform, but I have heard that he was probably one of the most exquisite tuba players around.
I know he was a tuba player. I don't know how.
He played string bass in the band.
Yeah, string bass
Right.
too. Yeah.
Well, he used to do clinics on the heck was that?
Acoustics. He became an expert in acoustics.
He was an
this
acoustical
was a
doctor of
this was-
acoustical engineering. That's his
Well,
doctor.
yeah, but he used to do clinics on the Clyde.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember that?
Yes.
He played
Yeah.
it with the band.
Yeah.
Well, we had alpha Clydes, we had post horns, we had
Yeah.
mouth organs.
We're doing a concert coming up in the band shell at Brandon Park in Williamsport next month with a harmonica quartet.
Ooh.
Well, maybe I should go on and phase this out here and
Yeah, I think you better.
and leave it for Mike Beagle to do the rest. But hey,
Cool.
thanks a lot, gents. This has been just
Thank you.
My
fantastic.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.